On this episode of the Film Festival Secrets podcast, we're going to talk about researching festivals on the web. I'm your host, Chris Holland, and it's a question I get a lot, especially since I tell filmmakers that they really should be doing deep research on the festivals they think they want to submit to make sure that the festival is appropriate for their film. Then the question becomes, well, what am I looking for? What things on a festival's website can tell me if that festival is legit or appropriate? How can I make the most of my time, trolling the web, looking for details about each festival? And so it comes down to a number of things. The sort of first impression, the first thing to look for is overall design and competency. What a website looks like and the design and technology choices that a festival has made to present themselves online, which is a big part of any business's professional presence these days, that's what's going to give you your first impression, your first look at the festival. Are they keeping current with technology? How much do they care about their online presence? When you look at it on a phone, does it rescale itself to look readable and great looking on the phone? Or is it just kind of like a tiny version of the desktop presentation of the website? How much thought and effort and even beauty, a festival website presents itself, that tells you a lot about who the people behind the festival are. So be on the lookout for that. If you're seeing poor grammar or bad writing or just confusing stuff going on, like it's poorly organized, you can't find what you're looking for, that's going to give you a clue as to what the underlying festival might be like as well. The second thing that I always look for on a festival website is, where is the festival taking place and when is it happening? Which might not mean a lot to you now, but if a festival is trying to sell tickets, they need to have that information front and center. It needs to be really easy to find, or the people who are going to the festival, the audience, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to move on. They're going to look somewhere else. So maybe not so much what the venues are, but if the festival's name is something other than City Name Film Festival, like let's say the Sundance Film Festival, right? You need to be able to tell pretty early on, oh, it takes place in Park City and it's going to be happening on these dates. So look for that. It's kind of a canary in the coal mine. If you can't find that really quickly, something's not quite right. The next thing that I look for is, how easy is it for me to find the submissions page? How quickly can I get to the place where I need to submit my film? And, what options do I have for submitting my film? This tells you a lot about how important submissions are to the festival. How much are they programming out of submissions and how much are they curating from other festivals or other sources? How much they care about the filmmakers who are submitting. Because if submissions are a big part of what they do, they're going to make it as easy as possible so they can get as many submissions as possible. The other thing to look for is, are the selections for last year's festival, the festival program, the films that they actually played, are those selections findable on the site? That's how you're going to tell whether, the films that they play are like or unlike your film. You really want to be able to go back and identify at least one or two films. One or two if it's a feature, I would say two or three if it's a short. But some films that give you the kind of idea that this is a festival that would play what you have. If you've got a feature film, I'm sorry, not a feature film, but a comedy, right? If you got a comedy and you're looking at this and it seems like all heavy drama, then maybe you want to look at something else. And for bonus points, you want to look and see if you can find previous year's programs. Lots of festivals have, just this past year's films, but they tend to sort of wipe the slate clean and move on to the next year as quickly as they can. It's a lot of trouble to keep, an archive of everything you've played up on the site. So festivals that go to that extra effort are proving to you that they really care about, the films that they play and their history, which I think is important. It's kind of a shame when you get to a festival that's, 14, 15 years old and you're looking at their site and you can't tell what they played back in year one. It's really too bad. So then we start to get into some of the fuzzier aspects, some of the things that might make you feel better or worse about a festival, but sort of give you the atmosphere and the tone of what you're likely to find. Things like, what do they emphasize about themselves? Are you seeing lots of pictures of celebrities? Are they really all about the glitz and glamour? A little bit of that is okay, but if that's sort of all that they can present to you as the reason why you should go to the festival is because you might meet some celebrities, well, that's not really sort of in the indie spirit that I think a lot of filmmakers are looking for. They're looking for festivals that are going to celebrate the people who are just starting out, the new talent, and not be so much about the star seeker aspects. That's fine, especially if you can get those people there. They definitely draw audiences in, but it tells you what they find important or what they think is desirable about their festival. Then start to look around at, what else they're emphasizing. Are they talking about their parties a lot? Do they have a conference or a series of panels that goes with their festival? Is there, do they have a mission statement? And what does that mission statement say? And does your film fit into that mission statement? Because that's, if they have a mission statement, at some point, there's going to be a decision, consciously or unconsciously, about whether your film fits that mission. Then I would look at some of the business aspects of what they do. What kinds of tickets are they selling? Are they selling passes? Does it seem to be just sort of just single off tickets? And even more important, who are their sponsors? So they have a reasonable number of sponsors. Sponsors are like the number one revenue generator for festivals, more than tickets, way more than submissions. That sponsors are how festivals stay alive. So if they don't have any, right, that's a warning sign, that this is a really small festival. If they seem to have too many, well, maybe they're putting all of their effort into getting sponsors and they're leaving some other stuff on the table. Now, what is too many? I think it, again, really depends on the festival. But if a festival in some town in Wyoming you've never heard of has 80 sponsors, that's, I would consider that to be too many. That would be a red flag for me. On the other hand, if we're talking about Tribeca, well, when you start talking about hospitality sponsors, people who just gave like some bottled water and stuff like that, you can get up to 80 sponsors real quick with a festival that size. So just look and estimate as best you can whether the number of sponsors and the kinds of sponsors that they have are in line with what the general size and shape of the festival seems to be. Accordingly, are all those sponsors like really tiny local businesses you've never heard of? Or are there maybe some big names in there, or at least locally big names like a gas company or a local bank? Those are really good signs when local businesses are getting involved. But if it's just, if the four sponsors are all like local restaurants, that's not a great sign. Oh, by not a great sign, I mean, they're not well established. It's okay for a first year festival to have 4 sandwich shops as their sponsors. They're just getting started. They have to prove themselves. But much further along than that, they should have learned how to get some sponsors on board and how to make themselves appear more professional. Don't be fooled by sponsorships from submissions platforms like Film Freeway or Without a Box. Those are not national sponsorships for the most part. There's no cash involved there. It's usually about a discount that the platform might be giving to the festival or, some provision in the contract. It's fine. There's legitimate reasons for being a sponsor of a festival if you're a festival platform provider, but don't fool yourself into thinking, oh, Film Freeway gave $20,000 to this little festival I never heard of. Chances are they probably didn't. All right. Last to look at is, what does this festival do for the rest of the year? Most festivals are annual affairs. They take place once a year. And then, there's this long period where nothing happens. Most of the better festivals, certainly most of the larger festivals, have some kind of year-round presence. Either they're at least generating some sort of content for their fans to watch or listen to or read. They're talking about other movies that are coming about. They're talking about other festivals, or maybe they have year-round staff and have year-round programming. They're showing movies. They're holding workshops, things like that. Look for what it is that a festival is doing in the off season. If they're doing absolutely nothing and it's been months and months since their last update and they really don't do anything until their next call for entries comes around, that tells you something about how seriously the festival takes itself and how many people there might be, getting paid, doing things year round. Again, a festival that's just starting out, that's perfectly acceptable, and you should treat that accordingly. But if there's something, a festival that's trying to present itself as a big deal, and yet they haven't updated their Facebook page in 3 months, that should be kind of a flag going off. Okay. That is all for this episode. I hope that's been useful to you, gives you a little bit of a better idea about what you should be looking for when doing this festival research. If you found this helpful, please do go to iTunes, type in Film Festival Secrets and, rate and review the film, because that really does help bump it up and help get more subscribers to the podcast. I would really, really appreciate that. Also be on the lookout for Film Festival Hacks, which is my new course, with Alex Ferrari. We've done an online course that's, I don't know how many, we recorded for like 8 hours. So there should be at least 2 or 3 hours of good material in there. And it's a really great overview of the festival year and just everything about festivals, from both the filmmaker point of view, since Alex is an accomplished filmmaker, and from the other side of the badge, the festival organizer side of you, which is my expertise. So if you're interested in that, it should be out in February of 2016. You can go to filmfestivalsecrets.com/hacks and sign up. It's not a spam list or anything like that. We're just going to notify you when the course comes out. And I really appreciate you listening.